So recently, we changed the layout of our apartment a little. We moved both of our setups into the same space. Q used to have his setup in a separate room. But the room didn't have AC. And since it gets really hot in Seoul during the summer, we decided to move everything into the living room before it got too uncomfortable. So now our setups are literally right next to each other. Most of the time, we're both just doing our own thing. But being able to immediately share little things with each other has actually been really nice. I think we ended up liking this setup way more than we expected. But there was one thing we didn't expect. The lighting. The bright white ceiling light in the living room just didn't work for Q. It felt too harsh, too flat, kind of like classroom lighting. And it wasn't the kind of lighting he wanted to spend hours under. I didn't really love it either, but I never thought about fixing it. Mostly because this is a rental, and I didn't want to change too much. Q did not feel the same way. He really didn't like it. He used to have a setup with warmer lighting. Even just a small lamp worked in that space. But once we moved everything into the living room, that small lamp just wasn't enough anymore. Q was not okay with the lighting, so instead of just dealing with it, he started looking for a solution. The idea was pretty simple. Fix the lighting and without changing the whole space. But that was actually harder than it sounds. Because now that we're sitting side by side, there really isn't much space left. Q's desk is basically full of everything. And my desk is pretty tight with a 32-inch monitor on it. So there's really no room for another desk lamp. We also don't have much extra space in the living room for a floor lamp, so we needed something that could fix the lighting without taking up more space. So this is what he ended up getting. The BenQ ScreenBar Halo 2. I really like the way it turns on. It doesn't feel harsh or sudden, it just fades in softly. And makes the whole desk feel warmer, cleaner, and more complete. The best part is that it just sits right on top of the monitor. It doesn't take up any extra desk space or add more clutter, so it fits this kind of setup perfectly. This light has two parts. It's a front light and a back light. The front light is angled toward the desk, so there's no glare or reflection on the screen. It just lights up the area where you're working. It's not blinding or distracting. It only creates this soft layer of light right in front of you. Your eyes feel so much more relaxed, especially when you're sitting this close to the monitor for hours. But the backlight is what really changes the vibe. It throws this soft glow onto the wall behind the monitor, and it makes the whole corner feel way more immersive at night. It also helps with that problem of having a super bright monitor in a pitch black room, which can get really uncomfortable after a while. With the backlight on, the whole setup feels more balanced, and everything is easier to look at. And then, there's this wireless controller, which might actually be my favorite part. It just feels really well designed. It's smooth, simple, and kind of satisfying to use. You can just reach over and spin it to adjust the brightness or change the color temperature. Everything feels really easy to control. You can go from a really warm light at night to a cooler, brighter light when you need to focus. We usually prefer warmer, cozy lighting when we're just hanging out at night. But when we're editing or doing something that needs more focus, switching to a cooler white light actually makes sense. It's kind of surprising how much one small adjustment can change the whole mood of the desk. It also has an auto mode that adjusts the brightness based on the light in the room. So if you don't want to think about it, you can just let it adjust itself. We like controlling it manually most of the time, but it's nice to have the option. I think what we like most about this controller is that it doesn't feel like something you need to hide away. It's one of those things you actually don't mind leaving on the desk. It feels more like part of the setup than a random remote. The thing that surprised me the most was the motion sensor. When Q sits down, it just turns on automatically. I know that sounds like a small thing, but it feels so welcoming, like the setup is saying, "Welcome back." It just feels like the desk is ready for him before he even does anything. Every time it happens, I'm kind of impressed and maybe a little jealous. And because we don't need to rely on that harsh ceiling light anymore, the whole setup feels softer, cleaner, and way more intentional. It makes this corner feel less like a random desk area in the living room and more like an actual studio space. So, here we are. I'm sitting here looking at his setup and then looking back at mine. I spent so much time telling him that we didn't need to change anything, that the ceiling light was fine and we didn't have the space. But now that I've seen how much it changes the vibe and how much better his side looks than mine, I guess Q was right about the lighting. And now I'm kind of feeling like maybe I should get one as well. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know what you think.